Hello, welcome to this video. On this video, I'm going to go through 10 bands that I should like, but I don't like, right? The actual title I've written down here is 10 bands I want to get into, but I can't. That's a better title, isn't it? 10 bands I want to get into these bands. I should like them. Well, I'm going to check them out. I'm going to have a listen to them. Then when I listen, I don't really like them. Bloody hell. Come on, deliver something I like. Right, so, it'll all be silly reasons why I don't like it. In some cases, I hate them, and you're going to have a bit of a rant at that point. But a lot of these bands are very good, right? So I'm going to kick straight in. After 30 seconds, I'm going to make this one a video, a quick one. I tried to make the last one a quick one, and it didn't work out. So, you know, get a move on, Andy. You know, they're always moaning that you're talking too much. And I'm getting a sore throat now. So I'm doing these videos today. I'm sat here, but I'm feeling like I'm going down with some sort of illness. People have been going down around here. But you're just padding it now. The minutes, right, let's just get straight in. Don't change the subject. Right, at number 10, I've got King's X. King's X, I mean, you know, cool riffs, funky, rocky, amazing bass playing, great drumming, great playing. It's all wonderful, isn't it? And I like Fishbone, and I like all those funk, you know, metal bands like 24/7 Spies. I love all that. I was right involved in that, you know, Urban Dance Squad. I love it all. Absolutely brilliant. I'll even put up with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I love them. But I can't get into King's X. They're great. Some of the riffs are great, but you know what I don't like about it, right? First of all is the production. The production's a bit slappy for me and a bit reverby. And when, you know, I haven't listened to everything by her, but when I listen to the proper albums that came out sort of late 80s, early 90s, it's all a bit 80s production. They don't succumb to grunge, and they don't get out quite away from an aspect of hair metal that is in their sound. But for me, it's the vocal. Can't take the vocal. He sounds like an out of tune David Coverdale. I like David Coverdale, but the thing with David Coverdale, he's in tune. Is it Doug Pinnick? Is he the singer? I don't want to knock him. He's doing a lot there. Is he playing bass and singing? I don't know much about King's X. You know, I don't know who the people are. You know, my ears can't take it. I'm very sensitive when it comes to harmony. I don't like stuff out of tune, especially with singers, unless they got some way of doing it that's got character, you know. A lot of the things when you watch what I don't like on here is because there's some singer just wheezing away and I don't like it, right? Some singers can sing out of tune and that sounds amazing, like Chaka Khan. She's amazing when she does it. But not when this bloke does it. It sounds like David Coverdale, but a bit off, like an off Coverdale. And that's the worst sort of Coverdale, isn't it? You know. And also, the worst thing he could do is sound like David Coverdale. David Coverdale can sound like David Coverdale because he's David Coverdale. But he shouldn't copy him. He's the worst singer to copy. Just really is. You shouldn't do it. King's X, number 10. That didn't take long. Shall I move on? At number 9, I'll have more to say about this one. Esperanza Spalding, the saviour of jazz. There she is, the nice, pretty girl, playing a double bass and singing at the same time, singing these cool jazz songs, a bit of a Latin vibe going on. She's got the great big hair, all she did have. I think she's got rid of it now. But in the early days, she got the big afro, the beautiful face, the double bass, you know, sitting there singing, doing all the stuff she does, right? And it's all cool and it's funky and it's all the stuff you like, Andy. It's, you know, all quality middle of the road jazz. But there, I said it. It is middle of the road jazz, isn't she? She's been created by the media, if ever there was. You know, the world of jazz at some point had gone, we need another jazz superstar. Kenny G's getting on a bit now, and he's got bad press. Everyone's cottoned on to Kenny G now, and he's become the butt of all the jokes. Why? Well, he's a white bloke, isn't he? He's got a mullet, you know, and it's everyone's spotted he's doing too many Christmas albums. I mean, it's made him a millionaire, but he's rubbished his brand. We need something that seems cooler, but is exactly the same as Kenny G. Well, what were you thinking? Well, a black girl, big afro, playing the double bass. She's standing there playing because it's like she's hugging a man, isn't she? She's playing the double. And we got one. Yeah, there's some well-off girl that we know that's highly privileged. We'll bang her into Berkeley School. We'll bang her in there. So she, you know, they stick her in and then they fast track her through her and Julian Largy, or whatever his name is, Lage, you know, those are the two, aren't they? They're cool, and they bang out, and then she comes out and she brings these records out. And it's basically pop music, but she's got some chords in there, actually. Clever chords. Really clever chords. I'll show you how clever they are. Right, I'll do it now. So, this is really hard to do. I mean, it's just, this does not make music great. I mean, it's just gumph. It's gumph, right? And when people hear it, it's basically pop music, and hers is more like, it would be more like this. It's more that type of chord, to be fair. Anyone who knows about that, because you can bang those out the same as way you can bang 3 chords out. It's no, but when people hear it, they think it's good. Now, what makes that sort of music good is not that. It's not the cleverness of it. It's the souliness of it. The reason why when Grover Washington is doing some sort of middle of the road Muzaki, thing, is because he's got soul. George Benson's got soul, and actually Kenny G has. He burnt when he was playing with Jeff Lorber, so I'll always champion him. But with Esperanza Spalding, right? She's a good bass player. She ain't Ron Carter, She ain't like Niels Horst Pedersen or whatever his name is. But her vocal again. Her vocals. She sounds like a poshy singing. There's no soul there. It's thin. It lacks anything. She's singing the notes, but there's no soul there. There's no blues, there's no dirt, there's no suffering. It just sounds like poshy music, middle of the road poshy music, right? And that's what jazz has become, and she's the poster girl of it. And the reason why I decided to put her on the list is because last night, and I will do a video on this, I watched finally the biopic that Don Cheadle made of Miles Davis called Miles Ahead. And I enjoyed it, and I've got a lot to say about it. But at the end, there's this sort of mishmash of 70s Miles, but he's playing in a modern band. And they've got like Herbie Hancock's on keyboard. He does a keyboard solo. It's ridiculous. Wade Shorter's on sax, and oh God, this is the greatest of all time. He does his saxophone solo. Antonio Sanchez is on drums. He's great drummer, a bit over the top, but great drummer. And then Esperanza Spalding's on bass. I'm like, what are you doing there? What are you with this group for? What have you got on this for? Why? Big hair? Why? Because you're a girl? Why? Why have you got on this with Herbie Hancock and Waysha Don Cheadle pretending to be Miles Davis? Why are you there doing this for? There's some guitarist, I don't know who he was as well. They've obviously got these young ones in. I don't like young people. They're rubbish. If they'd got Louis Cole on, he's young. I wouldn't have minded him being on. He's a bloody genius. He's a proper young genius. He is. Esperanza Spalding, it's rubbish, I promise you. Right? When I put it on, there's a tastiness in it. They've got good players on it. Some of the Latin rhythms I quite like. But it's like Kenny G's Bossa Nova album. But Kenny G is too old to push the right buttons. I wish Glasper, because he's responsible for it. Robert Glasper's good. He's a good player. But he's responsible for, mining this area. Right? And if Glasper made it, he should go, if he's got some balls, make an album with Kenny G. Glasper. Go on. That I want to hear. Because you make middle of the road jazz. Kenny G does. He'll fit right in. But give it that thing that makes people think it's cool. Right? Until he gets exposed. Until, enough time passes that we see the massive mullet. But he's never going to have it with that afro, because her afro is bloody incredible. If I was doing the 10 greatest afros on here, she'd be up there. It would be number 1 of the greatest afro of all time. It's that bloke in Santana. Do you know the one I mean? Was it Jose Chapitito? You know that guy? Bloody hell, that was an afro. Incredible. I think that's the name of the guy. Early 70s Santana. Check it out. In fact, I'll put a picture of up in here. This is Esperanza Spalding's afro. This is that bloke from Santana's. Which is the best? You decide. There's a bit of a, you know, something for you to, you know, get involved with the algorithm in. Right, so where we are, man, I'm number 9, and I've got to get a move on. I've done 10 minutes already. It's always the same. I do the first 2, look, it's 10 minutes. I think I'm doing 5 minutes on each one. I've talked about this one, so I won't talk about the next one for too long. At number 8, I've got Tool. Right. Doomy sort of metally prog band. They're not like, you know, I don't know. I don't like the singing. I don't like the droniness of the vocals. I don't like anything that's moany with metal. I think metal should have a bit of fun in it, and there's no fun in Tool whatsoever. Danny Carey's a good drummer, but people go on about him. Oh, this is like the nuclear physics of drumming, and I say, well, no, it's not. No, it's not. What have they been listening to? He's a good drummer though, but it's just, you know, it's dull. It doesn't get out of first gear. The early albums, when they're more like a metal band, are better for me. But once they took on the mantle of prog, it's not the sort of prog I like, and and this is aimed at sort of teenage boys, nerdy teenage boys that can't take proper metal. That's what you've got going on here with Tool, and you know, it's the area occupied by Rush. But Rush were the originators of it, and Rush have a sense of humour, and they have a lightness and a deftness which Tool haven't got. I've gone out about this at length. I've really tried with Tool, right? It's not that I hate them, but I just can't get into them. And the same goes for number 7, Dream Theater. I don't get Dream Theater. Sometimes they do a cool riff, but it's a cool riff. It's like they're a great rock band. I give them that. But most of the time, they're faffing about the horrible end of prog, you know, the cheesy, horrible end of prog, right? And on top of that, James Labrie, right, as I've said many a time, Labrie is French for cheese, and he brings the cheese to Dream Theater without a doubt. There's some albums I like more than other albums. I've listened to quite a lot. The only album I actually own was Images of Words, which I got just after it came out because everyone was going on about it. And I couldn't hear what was so great about it. It sounded like an Iron Maiden album, but without the charm of Iron Maiden, but with a whole bunch of sort of hair metal added to it and some stuff from Rush. That's what it sounded like. And I couldn't see why this was so groundbreaking. But what it was is that at that time, people of that age who were coming, musicians who were coming to blossoming in the early 90s, this was gobsmacked. You know, if you had grown up listening to Iron Maiden and Metallica, then you get a Dream Theater. I understand it totally. But for me, old bloke, already got into all this stuff. You know, by the time I got to Dream Theater, I was listening to bloody free jazz and experimental electronic music. I wasn't going to like Dream Theater. And I've tried to. I've warmed to them as... I toured with them. You know, when I was playing in Frost, we opened up for them. I can remember my jaw hitting the floor as I watched them soundcheck. They're incredible. Incredible band. You know, Mike Portnoy, lovely bloke, brilliant drumming, you know. They're incredible players. I'll never see, you know... I had taken the mickey out of them. I felt a bit bad, you know, and they were such lovely guys. Jordan Rudis, a lovely bloke, incredible keyboard player, played with bloody Tony Williams and Jan Hammer. They're amazing. They know the game they're playing. They do it really, really well, and they push the buttons really, really well. They've done it on this latest album. I think they're on diminishing returns. I predict this, that Dream Theater has peaked, and they brought Portnoy back in. They've done the most Dream Theater album. And it should be massive news. Everyone should be going on about going to see him, but I haven't really heard that. I think it's run its course. Anyway, that's another video in it. Right, so at number 6, I've got Jacob Collier. You know that little posh boy with the cheekbones? You know the one? He lives in his bedroom, you know, and he was allowed to do whatever he wanted all day long, and he just thinks that the world's wonderful, and he thinks he's the best thing since sliced spread, and nobody's told him. You know, he's one of those kids, you know, those type of kids that have been told they're wonderful by their middle-class parents for the whole of their life. Well, if you imagine a kid like that, you know, who, you know, the type that were never told anything bad when they're young, you know, that type of thing, you know, we don't tell our children off. We just try and advise them. Don't go near the fire. Don't eat that glue. Don't poke the dog like that. No, I shouldn't really be using it. Don't. I don't like the word don't. That's what Jacob Collier represents to me. And he's so positive and happy and nice because he's never had a bad thing happen to him in his life ever. It's all gone really well for him, hasn't it? And I can't begrudge him that. He comes from a very musical family, right? He's a very musical man. You know, as a young lad, he had this little room full of all his instruments, you know. There was me, you know, when I was going, Dad, can I have a drum kit? No. Why? You're not going to be a drummer. Oh, Dad, you were a drummer. I know. And I had to give it in, and I had to go work in the car industry. You know, you'll never get a job as a drummer. You'll just become a big layabout and on drugs. That's what you'll do. You'll never make any money. That was sort of true, wasn't it? And anyway, you're not having a drum kit. Oh, Dad. And then 2 years later, when I've been drumming on the settee and it's lost all its pattern, well, I'll buy you a drum kit then. But you can only play it for 1 hour a day. Really, Dad? Yeah. And then when I started to learn the drums, my dad was like, what are you doing? I've been practicing. Yeah, you're out of time. I was listening to you. You're rubbish. Listen to this drummer. You can stop listening to these rubbish rock drummers. Listen to this bloke. Who's this? Joe Morello. Oh, do I have to, Dad? Yeah, if you're going to play the drums, you're going to have to listen to Joe Morello. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for the negativity. Thank you for all the criticism. I bloody had to find a way through. No big room full of instruments for me, right? And but the Jacob Collier, he's got it all on a plate, hasn't he? He's got it all in there. He's learned to play everything. There he is, singing his songs, and you know, and then he is the example of a kid that spent too much time with a digital audio workstation. Well, actually, this track I've been doing has got 1,574 tracks on it. I've actually overdubbed nearly 60 vocals all on the top, and they're all like a quarter microtone apart. It sounds absolutely terrible, but if you really listen to it and use negative harmony, it sounds really brilliant. You know, and we've had to put up with this with him. And when he brought out, you know, him ruining Stevie Wonder songs or whatever it is, you know, with his face in all the different squares doing all that. And that was quite innovative on the internet. Oh, look what this lad's done. And doing it. Oh, he's playing the percussion, and he's playing the bass, and he's playing the drums, and he's playing the guitar, and he's playing the keyboard. He's playing that blowy thing. He's even banging a little pot in the kitchen. Oh, he's quite a quirky guy, isn't he? And he's got a bear on his head, hasn't he? All his clothes are brightly coloured. Yeah, I like him, I do. I do as well. He's a nice lad, isn't he? Yeah, sort of the son you like. He's quite good looking, isn't he? I mean, not in a sexual way, because there's no sexuality about him whatsoever. But, you know, but he's a nice sort of girl boy. You see, he's inoffensive, and he does all this nice music, and he's all full of positivity. There is some positivity, isn't it? And you, Andy, you're only criticising because you're a bitter old man. That's why. You're a bitter old man, and you can't stand the fact that his kids come along, and he's more talented than you, and he's more musical than you. And that he's had all this massive success, and he's friends with bloody Quincy Jones and Herbie Hancock, and they all think he's brilliant. And he goes out to all these colleges talking all this rubbish and talking about negative harmony as though it's the most complex thing in the world, which it probably is. No one even mentioned it. He's created the discussion about negative harmony in the world. And you know, and he's sold a lot of records, and he's won Grammys with music that's actually quite difficult. And you should like him. Yeah, I know I should like him. That's why he's on the list. But again, his voice is plummy, he's got no tone, he's got no soul, and worse than that, he's out of tune. Right? All this stuff about microtones, he just can't bloody sing in tune, that bloke. Right? I wonder how much bloody autotune has been used on his recordings when he's got 60 vocals all lined up, you know. I could do that. I might do it one of the days, but no one will be interested because I'm an old bloke. Right? If I was a young bloke, right, I used to look like this when I was young. If I'd have been doing that, if we'd have had computers and stuff like that, you know, I would have been like Jacob Collier. It didn't happen for me. No, I never got any of this, did I? Bastard. Moving on to number 5, I've got the Grateful Dead. It's like a running joke with you lot. Yeah, but Andy doesn't like the Grateful Dead. Oh, he won't mention the Grateful Dead. He doesn't like the Grateful Dead. Why doesn't he like the Grateful Dead? He needs to be educated in the Grateful Dead. He's not a deadhead. He doesn't like the Grateful Dead. I'm doing it in an English accent. There's no English people like the Grateful Dead. It's only Americans. Man, he doesn't get the Grateful Dead. When I was American and I was I can remember the late 60s, and I took a batch of acid and I took a whole bunch of LSD, and I can remember going and seeing the Dead, and I can remember Jerry Garcia came out and his beard, he got so bushy, and he was playing the Mixolydian mode, and I was looking at him and all the whiskers had lined up. I could see all the intervals of the Mixolydian mode, and they played on it for ages, and all the fact that they were completely out of tune. I couldn't hear it anymore because it was on another level. It was like that voice of Jacob Collier. It's all mixing in together, and the Dead were there, and my mate said, come on and listen to these tapes, and we go around his house. He's got all these bootleg tapes of them jamming, endlessly jamming, and some of it just sounds like tuning up, but you got to take the drugs, man. If you don't take the drugs, you don't get it. You got to get into that space. Andy can't get it. He's too uptight and British. That's why he doesn't like the Grateful Dead. They're so important and they're an iconic band, you know, and they were doing all this stuff. They invented prog. They invented jazz fusion. Jerry Garcia worked with Ornette Coleman. He should like it. I know this is the idea of this video, is I should like the Grateful Dead. Blues for Allah I like. Terrapin Station I really like. That's like the only one of the few decent prog albums to come out of America, right? I've just had to go, I've just done a video. I can't say any more about them, right? How many times are they going to say to me, they just sound like a really stoned country band, right, tuning up. That's what they sound like to me, right? But it's worse than that. It's pretentious, right? They didn't know better. You know, they thought they discovered the Mixolydian mode, and they thought if they jammed on it for hours and hours and then it sounded a bit exotic and it was the equivalent of what Ravi Shankar was doing. No, I don't get it at all. And the thing is that there's one thing about having a jamming band. I mean, Pink Floyd are the same. They're like the version of Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd were rubbish, or it's all experimental. Yeah, but you're no good. You can't play. To improvise, you've got to be able to play, you've got to have a fast reactions, you've got to be able to hear what's going on and create something that works. It's not just about making random sounds and just banging it all together and just getting stoned off your head. Pink Floyd are like it, and the Grateful Dead are like it. But the Grateful Dead never went on to make Dark Side of the Moon, did they? What did they make later on? I mean, what's the great album? I Google it, Live Dead, listen to it. Oh, it sounds horrible. Badly recorded band, tuning up and twanging away, and put American Beauty. It just sounds like a really awful, unfocused Americana album. I have listened to the Grateful Dead, right? I don't get it, right? I like people who can play. I like funky grooves. I like cool chord progressions. I like people that have control over their instruments so they can express their inner angst and they can go to the depths of their soul, like John Coltrane or John McLaughlin or Frank Zappa even on guitar. And Zappa was doing this sort of twangy sort of experimental improvising, and it's light years ahead of Grateful Dead, and he did it before then, right? So I just do not see why this band's so important. I'm getting angry now. What have we got at number 4? At number 4, I've got Graaf Generator. Right, I've done a serious video where I've gone through the 10 albums that I should love but I don't. And again, they were Pawn Holtzers on there. And I've just talked about them. I've got to explain why don't... I mean, I should love them, shouldn't I? They're a prog band, classic prog band. They're from the classic period. They did a whole bunch of very influential albums, really important albums. They influenced other bands. They brought a darkness into prog. You know, there's English whimsy in there, but it's countered with a sort of darkness. So the only other band really doing it at the time were King Crimson, and you love King Crimson. So why don't you like Graaf Generator? You know, is it his vocals? No, because I like Peter Hamill's vocals. I've got him on Exposure by Robert Fripp. He sounds great. Absolutely great. I like his vocals. So why don't you like I forgot who I'm talking. Graaf Generator? Why don't you like them? I'll tell you why. The production's not very good, right? It's all a bit middly, right? It doesn't have any lush sound to it. Just don't like the sound of it. 2, right? The compositions never really get out of first or second gear, right? They do long tracks, but they just bolt one section onto another, and it's just basically either riffs or very simple song structure, just bolted one after the other. Peter Hamill's lyrics, I think the lyrics are the key to this, and I don't get it. He is sort of exploring some sort of English surrealist T.S. Eliot, James Joyce thing, I think. I don't know enough about it. I don't get it. That's probably my fault. It's probably all my fault with Graaf Generator. I should like them, but I don't like them. And that's the bottom line. And I've said it so many times on this channel. They have to go on the list, and there they are at number 4. Right, so let's move on to the last 3, and I'm going to try to keep this video to 30 minutes. So at number 3, I have Vulfpeck. Vulfpeck are these sort of, they look like... Imagine you've gone to elite college in America, okay? And you get a bunch of frat guys, and they're all living in one of these frat things, what they do in America, you know, and all that, you know. And they're too soft and middle class to be like Porky's or Animal House. They're not those types. They're not jocks. They're more wimpier than that. And so they decide to, rather than play Dungeons and Dragons together in their shared house, they decide to explore the funk. So they now suddenly decide to explore the funk. But this is all going on when the internet's emerging. And because they have a really great knowledge of the internet and IT, because they're nerds, they know what needs to happen. So what they do is they all dress up in silly clothing, right? All based upon a sort of very postmodernist knowing 80s aesthetic. And so they mind that, so they look a bit like sort of, is it Saved by the Bell? Remember that kid? You know that one? I think he died eventually. You know the weird one that was on that program? Elizabeth Berkley was the star of that show, and she went on to do Showgirls. Remember that? And then there's that one bloke, I can't remember his name. Well, he looks like a member of Vulfpeck to me. And so they get that aesthetic, and they sit around their living rooms, and they sort of play these funky grooves, which they're very accurate, and they're funky because they've got it right, because they've studied it like a nerd would study the funk, and they've got all the equations out. So you get this groove, which is funky, but it's like, the meat that Jeff Goldblum passes through those pod things in The Fly. Right, that bit, and he puts a steak in and he passes it, and then when he eats it, it doesn't taste nice. He says, because he said that they don't understand the flesh. Well, that is Vulfpeck. They don't understand the flesh. They just don't. I've hit that right on the nail on the head there. With that fly analogy, I'm really pleased with myself with that one. That was worth doing this video now to get that. They don't know the flesh. They don't understand it. They need David Cronenberg to come in and produce them. The great David Cronenberg, that's what they need. If they produce their next album and he could show them, introduce them to the flesh, then we might get something good out of Vulfpeck, instead of all this anodyne, trendy college boy funk. The trouble is, the funk was dangerous at one point. I love the funk, everyone knows. I'll never give up the funk. Even though, George told me to give up the funk, I won't give it up. And I'll keep doing it, middle-class, white, middle-aged bands still do the funk. But the funk, these things get passed down. And they start being dangerous, and it's like, you go and watch one of them blaxploitation films, and they're walking down the road, and those films are always there's so much way more. In the early 70s, when you watch a blaxploitation, there's more nudity, there's more violence, there's more terrible deaths, there's just so much bad stuff going on, all to the sound of, I'm gonna blow you. And all sweating. It's just, that's the danger. That's the funk danger. Gil Scott-Heron and the funk danger. But now it's just been poshed down to poshies like jazz. They've got all these things and they own it, Vulfpeck. And then all proper funk musicians that are down on their luck, they have to crawl up to them and say, can I go on one of your videos? Yes, of course you can, because you're a legend. I can't stick them, Vulfpeck. I like the music, but it's just what it represents. I have a certain 80s postmodern, ironic, have to be the cool kid vibe about me. I have got that, and I keep taking the mickey out of it, even though I've got it. That's why I don't like Vulfpeck. They're too knowing, and they know nothing, and they know nothing of the flesh. Right, the next band, Oyster, I imagine they do know about the flesh. I got them at number 2. I've tried hard with Blue Oyster Cult. I really have. I wish someone would tell me what I got. I'll ask you lot, right? What was the album I had? I've spoken about it on the channel before. The white album with the airplane on the front. That was the album I was bought when I was a kid. Let's explore Blue Oyster Cult. I bought that album. I hated it. I went back and listened to it the other day. And I thought it was really, really good. But even though I thought it was really, really good, I didn't like the production on it. It was thin and it didn't rock. It didn't sound like a Led Zeppelin album or Deep Purple album. It was just thin and weedy. The ideas were great. And they seemed ahead of their time as well. Blue Oyster Cult. So I know they're really good. Now, Godzilla is one of the greatest rock tracks ever made. Don't Fear the Reaper is just sublime. There's no band that surpassed that. Now, those tracks, Godzilla, what's like that? Or is it the fact that Blue Oyster Cult just do all sorts of different things? But how are you supposed to like it all? Because most of what I heard I don't really like. And I know I should like them. This is one of the great American rock bands. It's arguable that this is the greatest American rock band. And not ZZ Top, like I say. ZZ Top's too obvious. It's actually Blue Oyster Cult. because they're idiosyncratic and weird and strange. I want to like them. Look, you watch the talent, you know what I like. I like my jazz fusion, right? I like this rocking riffs. I like some funkiness. That's why I like Godzilla. It's so funky. Bow, bow, no, no, no. Bow, no, no, no. Bow, no, no, no. Bow, bow, bow. Boom, 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 down. It's this groove. The drum sound there. With the terrible force and the terrible sound, they pull these high tension wires down. That's amazing guitar solo. Oh no, what a chorus. They say he's got to go. Good Godzilla might be my favourite track. I think it's my favourite track today, it definitely is. I think Godzilla was my favourite track. I love it so much. Why? That's why I don't like Blue Oyster Cult. Is that their greatest track? Oh no. They say he's got to go. Godzilla. And then in the middle when it goes zilla. Oh, that's it. What the hell's going on with this? Led Zeppelin never did this. Black Sabbath never did anything as good as this. That's like the greatest rock track ever made. Godzilla's amazing. What's like that? Tell me. Give me a play. Someone do me a playlist. I'll go through the track and I'll react to it. I promise you. I want to like Blue Oyster Cult. I don't know well enough about them. I don't know what I'm supposed to go. Right, and I missed out on them, and I didn't have the time because I was having too much. I listened to jazz when I got to that point, and I'd forgotten about them. And now I'm old. I look back, and American rock I'm getting really interested in because when they do it right, they do it right. And I really believe that. Please go, message me and say I've done a playlist for you, and I will. And if I get a few people, I'll compare it. And I'll pull the tracks that everyone has come out, and we'll do a whole video on Blue Oyster Cult. Based upon me, I don't really know much about them, and I tell you a band that I know less about is the band I've got at number one, which is the Tubes. The Tubes look like some sort of cross between Frank Zappa and Devo. It's like I should like everything about them. I should. And then I bought one album, and I can't remember what it's called. It's when they got the airbrush T-shirts on the front or the back. Can't remember it. I'm not prepared for this bit here, the Tubes. I'm not prepared for it because I didn't realise I had got something else planned here. But actually, now I've got to this point with these two tracks, two bands at the end, Blue Oyster Cult and the Tubes. I'm asking for your help. Same thing. Should we just do the same thing? And I'll just say that I don't know enough about them. Right, I don't even know how many albums they don't know what the great period is. I've got one of the albums that everyone says is one of their greatest albums, you see, and I listen, I just don't like it. It might be I don't like it, but what I want is, again, someone who's a Tubes fan, do a playlist. Not a huge amount, just 8 tracks. Do it for Blue Oyster Cult, do it for the Tubes, do it for me. And I will make a video on it. And I will go through each track and I'll react to it and say what I think. And if I come to the end of it, I might go, I absolutely love them now. I love them. And then I can find the tracks I like, I can do the research, and then I can start to have a delve through the albums. And I might even end up doing a ranking at some point, because they should be ranked on my channel, shouldn't they? The Tubes and Blue Oyster Cult. So that's number one. I've got to the end. I've only spent half an hour on this one. I mean, my throat's hurting, you see. I'll go and have a cup of coffee or something. Thanks for watching this. Like the video, subscribe to it, go to my Patreon, become a free member, see all the great content, then become a paid member. Also, I forgot to say this, I've got memberships here now. I don't know what they are. I've set it up. Tell me if I've done it wrong. I've tried my best. But basically, because I'm producing so many videos, I thought it'd be nice for people to be able to access them. If they want to watch it before and they can't wait, then they can pay a bit and put up, they can watch that. Plus, I can do, if it starts to work and there's loads of people there, I'll do some exclusive content, and and also I've got a whole bunch of videos that I took down years ago, like a lot. Well, I banged them all into the membership section, so you could go and watch those if you want. Some of them are really good videos. It's just nobody watched them because they were too esoteric. And I think now, if I was to redo them now, I'd probably get the views on them because there's really good stuff there. And I might revisit them. But yeah, so there's some stuff in there. There's quite a lot of stuff in there. And you will see, if you keep an eye on it, you'll see that the premieres, because people moan about this, I'm still going to do a few premieres because I'm a bit worried that the membership thing and I don't know whether the premiere thing get the views up. And also, there's that group of people that meet and chat to each other and talk behind my back, and although sometimes they get on my nerves, because sometimes I secretly watch it like that. Not every time, but you know, if I just happen to sit down at the computer and look at it, 6 o'clock UK time, I thought, well, go, and then they start talking about me. It's quite funny. If they say something really annoying, I'll just drop a comment in. They go, oh, it's Andy now. Oh, hello, Andy. We all like you. We're just talking about you. I know you were. Going on about how I don't like the Grateful Dead. Now I know nothing because I don't like the Grateful Dead. I love you, though. I love watching that. Exy Music. I love to know who Exy Music is. He's always there. He's a troublemaker, and he's always got something negative to say on absolutely everything. I think he's a communist, but I might be wrong, but he seems like that. Exy Music. You've become a part of my life. I see what you're saying in the comments. You know, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people out there, right? But Exy Music, you're always in that bloody chat, and you've always got something negative to say about me. I don't know what I've done to you, but you've got a shout out for it. So you've you know, Exy Music. Love you. I love you all. I love you all. Anyone who watches my channel, I love you all. And I do feel that Exy Music has a fondness for me. I can tell it underneath all the barbed, nasty comments about me and how I don't understand this and I don't like that and I'm one of these persons. I feel like there's some sort of... I'm going to write him a song now. I'm going to do a song for Exy Music. What would he like? He'd probably like something quite weird. Do you want me not too weird? Let's go for something like this. I think that he might be a communist. He seems like that. He doesn't like any of the politics, but he still appears in every chat. And he always has something negative Exy Music, you've had a song. First of my viewers to get a song. And if you enjoy that, viewers, and the rest of you are going to have to pay. I will do you a song. If you message me, say, can you do me a song? I'll do you a song, but you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to become a member. It might actually become a membership. In fact, that's the best thing I could have done in the members. See, all my best ideas happen on camera. I don't know why. Can you imagine? I should have a separate channel where I do songs for people who watch it. I'll just write songs like that. When I don't really write them, you can probably tell I'm making them up on the spot. But they exist. They're there and then they're gone. But then they're frozen in time by the nature of YouTube. And that's a wonderful thing. Bye-bye.